sorry. Thanks. I couldn't get the garage door down. So. Oh, you got everything in there? Oh, wonderful. Perfect. Yes, thank you.
I really want to show up too early because I'm like, I don't want to make them feel rushed.
Yeah.
And here you are, all set and ready.
I didn't want you to be waiting, but I couldn't get the garage door to go down, so I had to go back in through the house and.
No worries. I'm glad to meet you.
Thank you. I'm Sheila, and I'm looking forward to heading east.
Sheila, welcome.
Home is in the east.
Oh, is that so? So
Yes.
you're heading home.
Yes, I was supposed to head home yesterday, but Air Canada
had some other alterations in the
yes,
plans?
they certainly did.
And of course they checked in with you first.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, just to make sure
I
we're
was
going
getting
to
all
your
ready to go
schedule.
to the airport, and they told me I would be overnighting in Montreal, and I thought, no, I'm not in Montreal, because then you got to get up in the middle of the night to go back to the airport.
Oh, that's
So I thought I'll just. There are lots of
Make
things I
other
was supposed to be
plans.
doing at home today, but I thought I'm just going to take the easiest route to get out of here.
okay.
I had a wonderful visit. I have a son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter and sister all in here, so
Sheila,
yeah.
I want to hear all about it. But before you do,
Yeah.
I just want to give you a heads up. In my Uber, I do something unusual, and I just want you to be aware of it in advance. I like live streaming, which means like sharing my experience as a driver online. So I just want to make sure you weren't saying anything that you felt was private or whatever.
No.
I just
No, doesn't bother me at all.
excellent, good.
So is that like for a safety feature? Or?
Not at all. No.
But
The safety feature, it could be for sure. It could be seen as that. For me, it's more driven by one of my followers was asking, so why do you do this? And I told them there are certain beautiful things in life that when you have such an abundance of, it almost seems like a crime to like have it just for yourself. And I love sharing these experiences, and in so doing, there's been just a real zone of inspiration and encouragement for so many who don't get access to like great connections with strangers along the way. And I like modeling what that could look like, and so
Good.
yeah, so that's my intention
So is
behind it.
Calgary home to you? Are you
It is now, yes.
Calgarian? You weren't born there.
No, not at all. But I'll tell you why I love Calgary. When you come around the corner and you see
I
the
know, the
mountain,
view.
oh
I
my
know.
goodness.
Yeah.
It just gets me. I'm like,
But you know what? In New Brunswick, where I live,
yes.
you can drive an hour and see magnificent oceans. So you
Oh,
see,
that's
our
true.
country has beauty on both
It
ends.
totally does. You're absolutely right.
But I mean, I love Calgary because
Yes.
I have family here. But
Yes.
kind of cold here.
It can get
Very
cold. I agree.
When I arrived.
But isn't that the same in New Brunswick or no?
No.
What? Tell me more.
Well, it's a little milder because we're closer to the ocean, I guess. But
I heard
I
it
mean,
can.
I came on the 26th,
Yeah.
and we still hadn't got out winter coats or boots, or we had no snow, no frozen ground,
Okay.
no below zero weather.
Yeah.
And I arrived, I think it was like minus 19 when I arrived. Anyway, I dug out the winter coat.
It was cold here. It was
Yeah.
unfriendly. It was unpleasant. All the things. Yes,
and then
I
on
agree.
Saturday, my
Yeah.
sister and my daughter-in-law and I went to Spruce Meadows.
Okay.
That was breezy. We had a wonderful time. But,
Yeah.
Anyway, but my heart's in the East. I was born in the East.
Yeah.
So most of my family's in the East.
Yeah.
It's a slower pace in the East.
I've heard about this.
You know, we
Slow.
live in Fredericton, which is the capital city, but it's small, maybe, I don't know, 90,000 people maybe.
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes to get just about anywhere. You drive an hour, you're in another city. Drive an hour here and you're almost to your granddaughter's dryland training.
So I've heard so many beautiful things about the East, and I believe it. I've heard it's a slower pace of life.
Yes.
You've got the ocean for sure. The main challenge I've heard about being in the East is the economy.
It's not great.
It's not, but yet
We survive.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The one guy was saying it's just a slower pace of life.
Shopping's the pits, but then you don't spend your money. Unless you come to Calgary or something.
It sounds like a great place to be if you are able to work remotely.
Yeah, I was a nurse, so
Yeah.
there's work everywhere for us.
Right.
My husband was CEO of Habitat. Before that, he was director of development of the Y, so he always had a job. He was a teacher.
Okay.
Way back.
Yeah.
You know, all my friends were employed, but I have a special group of friends, I guess.
Yeah.
Our city's the capital, so we have the government in it.
Okay.
We also have several universities, so it's a really nice city
Setting.
with maybe more amenities than you would expect in a small city. Like we have a world-renowned art gallery. as an
Oh
example.
wow.
She wouldn't
Okay.
make a little sleepy city.
No kidding. Yeah.
And we had, lots of live theater. And
Yeah.
It's a pretty nice place, I have to say.
Enough that
I'm
I want.
biased.
I would love to indulge and experience it. Because the other thing I've heard is the country cannot match your side of the portion by way of friendliness.
Yes, that's
It
true.
is like everyone accounts for that saying.
Because my
It's-
husband came from Montreal. And
Yes.
He was down to go to university.
Yeah.
Never left.
Yeah.
But he said that. He said, like, people speak, they'll talk to you. Like, they don't have to know you. And usually, if you're a Maritimer, by the end of the conversation,
Yeah.
you've connected, that your next door neighbor's cousin's
Yeah.
brother is my, we do that. It's a maritime thing, and
Wow.
it's beautiful because
Yeah.
even on the airplane when I was
Yeah.
flying out,
Yeah.
lady two
Yeah.
seats away got
Yeah.
talking, and
Yeah.
it turned out that my husband drove her twin brother to his chemo treatments in another city before he passed away.
Wow.
And she said, well, I know your husband's name because he took care of her brother. And,
That's impacting.
so then you feel comfortable. So you're talking to his
Absolutely.
sister, so yeah, I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Golly, that's amazing.
And as a nurse,
Yes.
they wanted me to, and my surname is Ross, and there's a smaller community in New Brunswick, and everybody and his uncle is a Ross.
Okay.
But my Ross is actually from Calgary. My father-in-law was from Calgary.
Okay.
So they want to hook me up with everybody, right?
Yeah.
And they're going, well, Mabel down the road. And I go, well, before you ask,
Yeah.
I'm a Western Ross. So I'm not going to find any Ross relatives here.
Save you some trouble at this
It's
one
just a
here.
comfort thing,
Sure. Yes.
People want to make connections.
Absolutely.
And I love people. Like,
I do as well.
so that's why you're doing this job and not behind a computer.
Absolutely. One of the things I've told some people who inquire, like, what motivates me, it's this desire I feel we all share to be seen, to be understood, to be acknowledged, just in our existence, right? It's a courtesy that pays amazing dividends in the connection potential.
Yeah, I feel very sorry for people who live an isolated life because they're missing so much.
And I can understand a lot of people who do live in that isolated zone, especially post-pandemic. But even you, regardless, I would say in my familiarization with this culture here, there is a lot of fear narrative in our minds that speaks to the tune of saying, no one's going to be interested if you ask this question or express this interest or curiosity, and you'll actually have imposter syndrome where they'll feel like they're overstepping. So we're very cautious as Canadians. We apologize unnecessarily, saying, I'm already in imposition. That's the way we engage. And so to lessen that impact and fingerprints, we sort of play the cautious card, and we don't extend ourselves because it is a risky thing to extend yourself and say, hey, I'm interested. It's one of the most painful things. In other parts of the world, they're just worried about being shot or surviving hunger. But here, we're just trying to survive rejection. Rejection is like that zone that is almost like death zone for most of us. And we're like, amputate my arm before I experience that, basically.
But some of us just can't help ourselves. And my
True.
mother was, trust me, my
Yeah.
mother gathered like nobody else I know.
That's a gift. Community, yes.
My mother was breaking the art or something, and a very, very pregnant lady walked by. It was in the summer.
Yeah.
And so my mother said, you look very warm. Would you like a cold drink?
Yeah.
Took the woman into her house.
Yeah.
Never thought, is this safe?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Gave her a drink of water.
Yeah.
Got her story.
Yeah.
She was a student here from
Yeah.
Tanzania. And,
Wow, yeah.
drove her home, and then when the baby was born, my mother rallied all of us and said, okay, I have a new baby,
Yeah.
family that has nothing.
Yeah.
So what are you going to give, and what are you going to do, and how can you help?
Yeah.
So my mother gathered people like that all her life.
Create a community. That's really
There
sweet.
was an international student from India at the time,
Yeah.
and she came to our house a lot,
Yeah.
and she was, I believe, anyway, I know she couldn't eat gelatin, and so our diet changed because she was our guest, right?
Wow.
Anyway,
That's
my father made
amazing.
homemade ice cream for Christmas because he knew what went in it or whatever.
Yeah.
And but as kids, that was a rich experience for us.
Totally.
Because I've been to India in my mind. I'll never
amazing.
person.
In person, yeah. That's one of the reasons I love this post as an Uber
Yeah,
driver.
you
is
can go all over the world today.
I see the world coming into my vehicle. I
Yeah.
get to have access, unparalleled access. And then I also get this gift that many find so rare, because you and I, we don't have any impatience about expressing interest and saying, fellow human being, I'd love to hear the world from your vantage point, right? And in so doing, we get invited and ushered into their places that they never share with anyone else.
Yeah.
And that's a really sacred thing, I think. You know, it's a really, so when you get that as a steady stream day in and day out, someone once mentioned to me recently, she said, your social battery, she said, is so incredible. And I didn't realize it, but most people, they may enjoy this for sure, but there's only so much they can take before they get exhausted. Whereas she was saying, for you to have this incredible, energetic engagement all throughout the day, and I didn't realize that not many have access. Many people don't actually. Some people can only have just small little incremental
Well, and some
portions.
drivers,
Yes.
you know, you say hello and they
Yeah.
say hello, and
That's it.
obviously they don't want conversation.
Yeah.
I would be far more uncomfortable sitting here in silence all the way to the I don't do silence.
Right.
Obviously, I talk all the time, but anyway,
Yes.
but then I lose out because I don't know anything about the driver. She doesn't know anything about me.
Yeah.
We had that 20 minutes or whatever
Yep,
to
yep.
share a little bit. And nothing happened.
Absolutely. And furthermore, along those lines, I would say as well, in the same vein, I get riders who get in, and for me, I have to figure out within the first 10 to 20 seconds. That's all I have. It's just that initial few seconds to determine what space are they in. And I mean, I'm the service provider here, so I'm going to oblige where their spaces that they're giving me cues for. So I'll acknowledge that, and I'll usually, you know, tell myself a story along the lines that is gracious, saying they might not have this on offer. Maybe they're at the end of their day and they're depleted. I can understand. Or that too. But I at least like to try and make myself available if they want to engage that way.
And it doesn't, even when you get on a plane.
Yeah.
I always say hello to my seatmate.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
we're going to be together for 4.5 hours.
Yes.
We're going to be polite.
Yes.
And if they just say hello and go back to their book, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Although coming out, I like a window seat.
Yeah.
I'm just tired when I come out.
Yeah.
So if I fall asleep, it's on the window, not on a
On the
stranger's
first
shoulder. So I always pick a window seat.
Well, I
anyway.
noticed your little shoulder.
Yeah.
It's in the back there.
When you're 73, you'll understand. Every body part hurts if you sit still.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I got on the plane in Toronto or Montreal, wherever it was, I can't remember, they had changed my seat and they gave me an aisle seat. At first, I was going to kind of get annoyed maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I paid to select my seat. And
Right.
I thought, Sheila, maybe God has somebody sitting beside you who needs an ear, so you just go sit in the aisle and don't whine. So I did. I sat in the aisle.
Yeah.
There was a quiet guy over there who said hello, and then he picked up his book.
Yeah.
And the row was full, but the middle person never came. I said to him, well, this is a gift. They closed the doors. We have all this room.
Yeah.
Back where I was supposed to be sitting, probably the seat beside me, was a dog that barked and whined for 4.5 hours. I thought I would have gone out of my mind. Seriously.
I believe
I mean,
you.
you expect
Yes.
crying babies on a plane. That's just normal, and we had them, and that's part of the atmosphere.
Sure.
This dog, I even said to the stewardess, my goodness, I thought he'd get tired after a while.
Yeah.
She said, usually they sedate them.
Yeah.
I felt badly for whoever was sitting with them. Oh, it was off, like a...
Yeah.
Oh, 4.5 hours of that. Anyway.
Your story reminds me of a story I heard once of these two bunkmates in a hospital room. And they've been bunkmates for a long time, a long period of time. The one, his bed faced the window, and he got the pleasure of seeing outside.
It was bricked up.
You've heard the story. Oh my goodness, that's one of those powerful stories. You just
so it's your attitude, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, I love that story.
That's a great story. That's the story, yes. Yeah.
Another story that you've probably heard a million times.
Let's hear it.
About the starfish.
No.
A man is walking along the beach, and up ahead of him there's a little boy, and the beach is absolutely littered with starfish. And the little boy's bending over and he's throwing them back into the ocean, but there are hundreds. So the man said to him, why are you doing this? What difference does it make?
Yeah.
And he picked up a starfish and he threw it into the ocean, and he said, well, it made a difference for him. And I've volunteered many years with newcomers.
Yeah, me too.
And people, sometimes you get overwhelmed. They say, like, there's so many people who need shelter, protection, whatever.
Sure.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I said, remember the starfish story. It makes a difference for that one person.
Sure.
Or that family.
Absolutely.
And
oftentimes I'll get asked about my experience as an Uber driver, and they're usually looking for the salacious stories. Has this ever happened? Has this ever happened? Yes, people have thrown up my car. Yes, I've had drunk people. All the things, and for me, that's not even noteworthy. Like, these things happen.
Doesn't add to
And
life.
what happens for me is it's in moments where I recognize their humanity, and I remember what it must be like to be in their shoes, to say, okay, this person didn't mean to do any of this, and yet they're also feeling really bad and vulnerable and in a state that they just don't want to be seen in. How can I give them a gift right now? Not of like retribution that says, you're going to pay for this, but more so saying, don't worry about any of that. You're not even going to be concerned. My main concern is, don't forget your worth as a human being, But the most impacting one, I would probably say for me, that really gets me, is a young man that I had in my, this is about 3 years back now, but this one individual in my Uber, and we had a great conversation on the way home. And it wasn't until we got to his location at home. And then he paused before he left. And he said, I just want you to know, this is the night I was going to call it quits on life, basically. But our conversation, I didn't even know what we talked about. I don't even remember what we talked about, but there's something in the way
you
that...
valued him as a human being.
Yeah, just that, again, that intentionality, right? To be able to say, I'm going to be present with you in this moment. We're going to enjoy this time. It's going to mean something, right? Like you're saying, you have no idea. By the way, just a quick aside, isn't that a beautiful view?
It is. It's a beautiful part of the world.
It is, I agree.
I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, just above the mountains.
Yeah.
The band of blue was almost like an Aegean Sea blue.
Oh my goodness, okay. Gorgeous.
And then I went to visit a friend, and on my way home, the sun was setting behind the mountains.
Yeah.
It was magnificent.
That was a
bright orange.
couple of days ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a worthwhile one.
It was
It's been a great day. It was a great day.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. But anyway, all that to say, oftentimes as I interact with my live stream audience on here and saying, here's the reason why I do this, and usually when I pull up to pick someone up, I tell them, part of the magic here for me is I don't know what I'm about to walk into. It may be a quiet ride, perhaps, or maybe one where we're solving the world's problems, or
we
just
get to world peace yet.
or it'll be like so many other options, but I'm finding a person in these moments, and they're in that realm of uncertainty and unknown is where the magic can happen when we prepare for it in advance. And saying, how do I take care of me well enough that I've got enough to share with others as well, right? So, yeah, that's one of the reasons that I find most compelling to make myself available in such a way.
I have a little mantra on my calendar.
Do share.
Wearing it. The evidence that God is not finished with you yet is that you woke up this morning. Right? So today's a new day. You know, it's what you're going to have to do today, but you have to be open to being used. And,
I like that.
So I woke up again today. Supposed to be waking up in my own bed at home, but that's okay.
Well, that's the other part too that I've shared with many young people is when I was young like them, they often think I'm as young as they are, and I'm like, no, I'm actually, I could be your parent. But I tell,
very young.
I've heard as much. Yeah. No, I'm well along. But what I share with them is when I was making plans as a young person, my plans were so definitive and so precise, and here's exactly how things were going to work out. What I failed to do was make allowance for the unexpected in life. Unexpecteds are going to come along. Absolutely. Every single one of us, we're shown how equal we are where life doesn't happen on our own schedule. In fact, if we were to choose all the growth moments that we have to go through in life, I think all of us would procrastinate and just leave them for the very end. But life does something different where it says, I'm going to send these incrementally through the course of your life on a regular, consistent basis, at moments you least expect, at the most inopportune, uncomfortable, unreasonable, like it just does not work in your economy. And yet now you have that opportunity when you're facing those to be able to say, how do I navigate through this now? How do I get to that next level of what I need to be figuring out? What questions should I be asking of myself in the midst of all this, right? And so that's one thing I would probably remind myself of in their season again.
Well, people will say, "Oh, I can't believe this happened to me now," and I go, "Well, when would be a good time for it to happen?" Like, really? There's no good time for bad news.
So true.
So you have to take it when it's given. But
so true.
The outcome can be quite different depending on how you deal with it, what your attitude is, what your expectations in life are.
Yeah. And so for those reasons, I love what I get to do, not only in this job as an Uber driver, but even extending myself further to the online space and sharing conversations like this where others can listen in and not only see the chemistry that happens organically. This looks like when you're engaging with ideas.
Now, do you have people who get in and say, "Oh no, you're not doing this for me"?
Yes. So that's why I say at the outset, saying, here's what's going on, and if there's that kind of feedback, I say I'm happy to accommodate. I've already communicated with my audience online saying, hey, my primary business, I haven't been interacting with them per se. I tell them when I have someone in my car, that's my business. Watch what I do with them. Watch how I connect with them. Afterwards, I'm going to sit down and go through the comments and share with them and experience those things. But this is more like an invitation for them to be like a fly on the wall. Yeah. But they also know what consent looks like. And I tell them, hey, when someone says no, here's how I respond to a no. Yeah. Here's how I respect and honor a no answer and affirm it. In fact, celebrate it, saying, thank you for having that. By the way, we're going WestJet or Air Canada. Thank you. You did mention that. Yeah, all that to say, it's
That's
wonderful.
The one way to get to Fredericton.
Gotcha. The monopoly there, right?
You can drive 2 hours to get WestJet, which I would do if it's grandchildren, because there's a direct flight from Calgary to Moncton.
Okay.
So I've done that with grandchildren, bringing them west and taking them east. But
okay.
when you're flying solo, Air Canada's the choice.
Mm. Yeah, no, I really appreciate modeling what consent looks like. I think it's a really important conversation we're having nowadays in realm of like when you're having people's stories, how do you honor their stories by also making sure that they're willing participants or not? And how do we also learn how to not cajole or anything like that, but just say, hey, where are you at in helping? Absolutely. Yes.
So what percentage, like 2-3% of people would say no? Or
no, I'd probably say like 3%. Yeah.
So very few.
Very few, exactly. Other times they acknowledge it, but they're also wanting a quiet ride, which is totally legitimate. And so it's a quiet ride, in which case I tell them, instead of just watching me driving, I'll give you a view of my road that I'm driving, and you can watch traffic per se, you know.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's been such a pleasure. And my
son said everything is
it's all taken care of? Yes. I'll grab your bag here. In the meantime, hello friends, good to see you all in the live stream. Eddie, can't stay long, it's 4 a.m. so I'm off to bed. Good night, Eddie. Sweet dreams, brother. And chicken in her mind. I can relate with that for sure. Good to have you guys in the live stream. That was a great ride. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you're watching the replay, I'd love to hear your comments down below. I really appreciate the things we got to talk about now. Anyway, let me know, and I will touch base with you all in the next live stream. Cheers.